What's going on, everybody? It's Tone Space. Got the Spock shirt on, which is right because this is going to be an out of this world, out of this universe type of video. As a quick disclaimer, I do not claim to be a physicist or a scientist. I don't even think my level of, textbook knowledge in any of those fields is, anything to write home about at all. Let me get a little bit of water, right? However, just like all of you, I'm someone that puts things together and wants to figure out the right reality around me and is a thinker. So these are just some of my thoughts. And I'm not a big weed smoker, but think of it like a bunch of people around Little Cypher smoking weed, just saying some like what sounds like the most ridiculous stuff, but it actually, makes sense. It has a premise to it, right? It was logically deduced, right? So this quick presentation is my theory on why I believe everything exists. Everything exists. Like when we think of things, I believe we're not as much creating. I don't believe we're as much creators as we are antennas that tune into something and then pull it into our reality. We pull from, I guess, the ether, you could call it. We pull from ever existence that is already here. Now I'm going to explain why I believe that. It's based on two tenets that I believe are scientifically known to be true. Again, I'm no expert. If I'm wrong, leave it below. Correct me. It's cool, right? Two tenets that I believe are true. One is that the smallest particles, be it molecules, atoms, subatomic particles, quarks, which I believe are the smallest known things that they found. Maybe God particle with the CERN. I'm not sure if a God particle is smaller than a quark, is a quark, or isn't as small. I'm not sure. But it doesn't even matter. Whatever the building blocks of our reality is, the smallest thing, as I understand, they're always in motion. They move. You got neutrons, you got protons, electrons moving around there. You've got that atom moving around with other atoms. You got quarks moving around to build the atoms and stuff, right? So, particles are always in motion, right? Another thing that this theory relies on the tenets of is the notion of infinity, time-wise. That time is infinite, no beginning, no end. And in fact, what I'm going to show is going to be another kind of translation of why infinite time is relative to infinite space. So let me get to the little chalkboard. I did a little test run. I got to actually bring the camera over, so you're going to take a trip with me, right? So here's what we're going to do. Oh, no. First off, real quick, little interactive thing. Take 5 seconds. Imagine the most absurd thing you could ever possibly imagine. Just think of something that's far out. It could be a black hole. It could be it could be something you can't even physically say or translate. Just try to think of the most out of this universe, wildest thing. Give you 5 seconds. Think of that real quick. Okay. Now, according to my theory, as I said, what you just thought exists. You're just pulling it from somewhere, but it's already here. It's already in existence. You didn't create that thought. You just pulled from this infinite space and infinite place where that thought is already there, right? And this is why I believe that. So let's say a quark is the smallest found thing, right? That builds subatomic particle that builds atoms, right? So I don't know how quarks are shaped, but we're going to act like a quark is shaped like that, right? I like to think it's spirals because I think a lot of things spiral. So we got a quark over here and we've got a quark over here. Now, the quark over here is you that's watching right now, whatever table you're next to. This is a quark in your table. Out of the trillions upon trillions to the trillionth power of quarks there are in your table, subatomic particles. For this example, we're going to use a quark right next to you, be it your table if you're watching this, in your living room, your bedroom, you're homeless with a Wi-Fi signal. This is a quark in your cardboard box, right? So we got the quark in your cardboard box. And then this quark all the way over here, this quark is the furthest known or even unknown regions of space and our universe, as far as we can perceive or as we've ever detected anything to be. This quark is, let's say, a quark on a piece of dust or a quark on a star. Just the furthest you could think of, a quark that's real far away, right? Now remember, this goes on the tenet that things are always in motion, right? So quark by your cardboard box or by your table, quark way out in the far reaches, trillions of light years away, right? So how long will it take for this quark to move, since it's always in motion, right? How long is it going to take for that quark to move next to the quark inside your table or your cardboard box and actually interact with it, right? Now, you may ask a scientist to tell the probability of that will even ever happen. What's the chance that will happen? That's not going to happen. So they may draw like a ridiculous number and say, oh, well, things are always in motion. But you know what the chance of that happening is? And they'll be all like bold about it because they're, so book smart. They're going to say something like, I don't know, I'm just making up a number, right? Whatever this number is, and this is to the power, to the whatever power this is. Now, this number is ridiculous. I do not know how to even orate whatever number that is. This number is probably bigger than the known atoms in the universe, just to give you some scale and frame of reference. But they'll probably say something like, yeah, the chance that this quark will ever interact with this one in any type of way is ridiculous. It's nearly impossible. But since everything moves, I don't know. It's like you can't say it's impossible if everything's in motion. Now, if quarks never move and if atoms are just stagnant and static and stay still, then that destroys this whole theory. But the fact that everything moves, it tells me that eventually this is going to interact with this, even if it's this much of a probability or this unlikely. Now, this line is going to represent time. But if time is really this, see how there's no beginning or end on this chalkboard? It goes way past the green screen, on forever, and past that way, on and forever. So if time is infinite, then even though it's this chance that this quark will ever interact with this one, still, there's enough time to support this unlikelihood until this eventually happens. You feel me? Because time is infinite, right? And molecules and quarks and everything always move. So basically, if you have infinity, that means there's enough time to support every possible combination of every quark in the known and unknown universe. There's enough time for all of them to interact with each other. If these are the building blocks of reality and time is infinite, then that means eventually every possible and impossible permutation, combination of quarks, molecules, atoms, whatever you want to call it, eventually they're all, this light years quark away is eventually going to get to this one, even if it takes this long, and then the quarks next to it, and every combination of quarks will eventually happen, meaning anything you can possibly imagine will eventually materialize as long as there's enough space to support it. And that's where we get, enough time to support it. So even space can be infinite, right? And that's why space and time are relative. The infinity of space, meaning of everything possibly existing, is supported because there is enough time for the probability and for the probability of every single building block of reality to combine with each other to create any and everything you can ever imagine or can't imagine. Ain't that something? So that's why I believe that everything exists, even if not right at this time. If time is infinite, eventually it will. So when people think of great inventions and write a good song, a movie, whatever, as I said, I don't think they're necessarily creating something as much as they're just in tune or tapped in with something that they're pulling from, because everything already exists. So they're just pulling from something already in existence and bringing it into this reality that they have personally or that they share. Now, if you're the other type, you say, oh, Tone Space, I don't believe in space and all that stuff. That's bogus. That's some made up stuff. Well, or you might even be like a simulation that's comparable to myself. Oh, we're in a simulation. Well, I think we're simulating something. But you know what? It's even easier when you look at it from a simulation perspective, Because simulation means what? We're digital code. Digital code is what? Binary code. Binary code is what? Zeros and ones. So even if reality is comprised of this, of zeros and ones, that's even simpler. With the infinity of time, eventually any and every possible 0 and 1 combination that can possibly be made on to infinity, eventually every permutation of zeros and ones will combine, meaning anything that is a reality that we're comprised of, eventually any and all of it will materialize, even if you look at it from the simulation perspective. You feel me? So just my quick little thoughts, and real quick, I'm a plug that in with prosperity and manifesting things into reality. I think this is a huge reason why it's said that there's a huge reason why you can't just or people that say you can manifest anything. They say don't just imagine and think that you already that of what you want, that you have it. Do actions that support it. Exist in that reality. And I think the secret is you're existing in that reality, because the truth is that reality is real. Right? If any permutation and combination can happen, then hey, bring that vibration or that dimension or whatever into your reality. So like, for example, some simple stuff. You want to be a millionaire. You're not quite there yet. You want to buy something in the store. There's a $20 difference. It's $20 more than you're normally willing to spend. Right? So instead of just dreaming and thinking of being a millionaire, you have to be like, oh, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I've got millions. Like $20? I'm bugging. What am I worried about $20 for? You wouldn't even give it a second thought and say, oh, $20 budget, none of that. You'll probably tip the cashier another $5 just because you got it like that, right? And the homeless guy in the front that had the that's watching this and was by the cardboard box with the quark and everything, right? Everybody eats in this video, right? Because you're existing in that reality. You're basically pulling it from where it already exists, and it's like you're stepping into it. You're stepping into what is already there. You're not wishing for anything, nothing. You're jumping into it. You're actualizing it. So actualizing is just you moving to where it is, because in all actuality, it is already there through time and space. That's it. I hope you enjoyed.